Greetings everyone, can you hear me?
Yes.
Well, thank you for allowing me to be here, and yeah, this is now the fourth time I've seen this film. The first time I was by myself in the cinema, meaning I went on my own. The cinema was actually empty, and I was kind of desperate to see it again because there was so much that was going on, and I wanted to be able to unpack some of the things. The film opens with my birthday. My birthday is the 16th of October, and it closes with my birthday. So that was one of the first things I observed, like that I'm going to now have this very intimate connection to this film. And that's what it didn't disappoint. It just took it took me into zones of myself. The work that I have been doing, that I've been trying to do for a long time, including genre fiction, and including my understanding of blending genres, and my love of actually doing what is multidisciplinary or multi-genre, blending genre, not being stuck to one script. So it really felt very like I was experiencing something very personal, and automatically this is what we would call genius, this is what we would call an instant classic. So that's really, I'll just try and shut there because I could go on.
I'd just like to say thank you to the African Odysseys, proud follow supporters for coming out all the way to East London. Normally we're in Central London, but of course they're being a bit racist down there, which is why we're kind of doing things outside the BFI. And I have to say thanks to Marlon for hooking me with Genesis to have this event here, because this is a massive cinema and it is not normally this full at this time on a Saturday afternoon, which is proof of the power of the film and of you guys supporting what we're doing to actually get this information out and have more of a kind of a detailed discussion of the film, because it's being shown a lot around the country, but it's missing this kind of element to it. For myself, what I got from that film was that it's so deeply layered with proper serious history. The fact that they mentioned German trenches because they were black
Don't
Americans.
touch too much on the history and get deep in spirit.
All right, let me spiritual then. Let me stick to spiritual, because you see that scene when they're in the barn and they're dancing and singing and they reach back in the time and to the future to represent all that kind of African black history storytelling using music. And also, speaking of spiritual issues, I mean, we saw vampires in there, but if you look at it a certain way, it could be about how the white music industry has been for vampires or for black music. That's another
This is what they call an original story. And once someone writes an original story, in Hollywood you see franchises. Hollywood, they stick with tried and tested systems. And so that's why you see Fast and Furious 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and all these other films, because they stick with franchising. This is an original film. This guy was brave enough to come with something totally original. But when he came with that originality, he realized he had he had power. And there's a lot of us don't realize the power that we have when we work within certain fields and we give that power away. You know, I've always realized that I've had the power, and whenever I go and do whatever I do, whether it's in this cinema or any other cinema, people know me. I'm the first to take black films all around the UK, because I always felt that I had the power to go into any cinema I wanted to go in and show black films, and also bring black people into those cinemas. So this film really, really empowered me. Obviously, we'll talk about a lot more about it, but what Ryan has done here is I don't think people actually realise. It's so powerful that it enabled him to have the bargaining chips when he went into the deal that really set him apart from all other directors, black film directors, and even white directors at the moment, apart from a very select few. So yeah, this film is really, really, really powerful, more than just a horror film or vampire film or another black film.
Tradition. So, what did you get from that system? What do you think Ryan Coogler is trying to portray?
Thank you, yeah. Obviously the spirituality was the bit that I'm going to connect with a lot. Straight off, there are lots of spiritual symbolism, which I literally don't have time enough to go into. You could start with the first theme that's coming in, there's the crossroads, and crossroads will feature a lot in that film. so too will a symbol of the crossroads, which comes out of the Yoruba tradition, and that symbol of the crossroad is Kapaleka, or Ishu. Ishu has been demonized as some kind of devilish figure, which is the ideology or the theme that runs through. Because I consider the twins as actually a conjoining of Eshu, Kapalegba. They are one and the same thing, giving you that choice of whether you want to go this way in the crossroad or that way in the crossroad.
In Deep South, some musicians were paid in drugs. They were paid in alcohol, but later on in the 70s in actual drugs. And in South Africa, in the 80s, you found that workers on vineyards, black workers, were paid in alcohol, in wine. So it was a way of kind of controlling the population to make sure that dependent on the masses, so-called masses, etc. And you saw that being reflected throughout the film, that he was looking at economics. So the scene when he's talking to a little girl saying, don't just tip 10 cents, whatever. You have to talk back to me, you have to negotiate. And also then there's a scene with the Chinese woman where he's talking about, you know, what are you going to give me for this service, etc. And so what comes out of the film from that perspective is that it was all about the business. And going back to Marlon's point, Marlon can talk about the deal that you made.
But in terms of, you know, what I saw in the film, in terms of like the spiritual bit that I saw in the film was that scene, the music scene, when in the barn, in the juke joint, when they basically started singing, and then how it invokes, as you said, it opened up other realms. And those of us who've been on the music scene, I used to keep raising dances as a young man when I was 18 years old. And we know how sometimes the music can overtake us, and especially when we're under our liquor as well, and all kinds of things can happen. Like we saw it in the juke joint, where people, you know, go off and do all kinds of things and blah, blah, blah. But that scene particularly where it invokes basically, the spirits of other times, you know, you saw basically, I think with Boosie Collins that was meant to be, and then you saw hip hop guys, you saw all different types of that scene was just amazing. It was really, that scene needs to be cut and just looked at and dissected fully in case you probably missed some things in there that you didn't even see. So I found that scene very, very powerful.
So what do you think the overall message is for us as a people, bearing in mind that the title is called Sinners?
Overall spiritual message.
The message for us as a people.
Political message, cultural message, because we're on the spiritual at the moment.
Everybody to give their own interpretation of what they felt was taken from the film.
Okay, so I think it's about, if I was to think about it, because I'm a writer as well, and it is really to be conscious of what is available to you in the universe, the panoply of things. That we are open and we're exposed to so much, and we do have choices to make, and we have to be conscious and be more aware of the directions that we are going to choose, because in that context the overall message is that the God that you have in mind and the devil that you have in mind are on a spectrum. It's one and the same. They're fluid, so you have to make choices about which direction and what is going to tempt you, what you're going to bargain with, what you're going to have to give up when you make whichever choice. So I think it is for us to become more, like certainly as black people, to become more aware of those dynamics that exist. It's not one simple thing. I mean, remember that crucial scene at the end where, you know, when Masket and Sammy, he's praying because now he's like desperate. I've come into this den of nastiness now, and I'm gonna die, so I'm gonna go back to what I know, which is the Lord's Prayer, right? So he starts praying that, but then the so-called devil, I know this one as well, so I'm praying that, I'm praying the same thing. That bigger message is for us in a context, is that, okay, and I've always thought this, if man like Trump, yeah, is a Christian, and is he praying to the same God that I'm praying to? And is he more successful because that God is listening to him because he is the president of this place and he has this money and you know what I mean? I've never understood it. I was like, this man is praying to the same God that all of you people over here are also praying, and actually we are the ones that are sort of, you know, desperate, needing, you know what I mean? Like, we don't have the power that Marlon is really talking about ultimately. This man seems to have that power. So I think we really need to check ourselves as a people about where we are now. This is a really critical moment. You know, the film could not have been more perfectly timed for us to think about that.
Also, I kind of missed this the first time I watched it, in that if you look at Remick the vampire, now when he has Sammy in the water, he baptizes him.
That's right. Again and again.
Right?
Yeah.
And then
As
all
he's
his
saying, the Lord's Prayer.
followers, much as they're kind of following him to be free, they're doing Irish dance and all that. So you see that there's this kind of a intriguing sort of situation where you well, not follow, but he says, if you come with me, we're going to all live happy ever after. But the afterlife he's offering them isn't the afterlife they would wanted. They're all doing kind of Irish dance, and they're from South Carolina or Mississippi, etc. So it's interesting that happened in the film as well.
That's symbolism of Irish as well, isn't it?
Yeah, go back to the original question, I'm trying to remember. The meaning I got, again, you guys have touched on some of that. It was very powerful to me, and the meaning I got out of it was about, again, you know, black people specifically sticking together and supporting one another. And, you know, I can speak for my journey. I've had 27 years of support in terms of what I've done with Kush Films. But then sometimes, you know, you feel that we don't stick together, and we're quick to want to jump the boat and jump with others who are not from our community or from our culture, and to sell our services or sell ourselves basically. And we're living in some very precarious times right now, very dangerous times. And I believe that there is a war coming. And I've been saying this for a little while now. And to me, it seemed like we're just walking around, almost like in that film, like we're just walking around like we're hypnotized. We don't see what's really going on. And we're not awake. And if things get really bad, as usual, it's always going to be the black people at the bottom of the barrel, with the Irish as well. Probably the Irish as well. And again, within that film, there's that whole connection between black people and Irish people, as we know, is a cultural thing as well, from a long way back. And they seem to have a similar thing in America with the Irish as well, because again, when they all first came to America, and the Irish came over with the Europeans, the Irish was seen as the same way as the English treat the Irish over here for hundreds of years. So, there's a very, very deep connection, deep message within that whole of that film about who we are, where we're trying to go, how we stick together. Mind the devil who you invite in and you let in, because again, that's the whole key to inviting people in. They can't come in unless you invite them in, and we should be more aware of life and where we're trying to go in life and what we're trying to do as a people, not as individuals, but as a people. And to me, again, just to finish off, I just honestly, I'm actually looking. I spent 6 months in Jamaica last year, and I actually came back here to pack my bags and go. That's what I came back for, because to me, I think we're just lost in this country. I think we're lost, and we're not going anywhere. We've gone backwards, from the days of Bernie Grant when we were fighting for our freedom and to be who we are. I just don't see where we are now, that we've gone any further. So I think something like this is a great and big sort of wake-up call to many of us.
So this is the second time I've watched it, and I think I'm definitely with Sister Michelle that it's like a masterpiece because there's so many little details, and I've enjoyed the discussion now and also online since it's come out. Everyone's like dissecting all the little bits, and it's nice to get a little perspective on it, right? But I saw I guess you could say a critique online from one of the talking heads about, I guess, saying that the film was almost like a critique of sinners in club culture and the Duke and whatever. And I'd like to ask the panel, from my perspective, I think that there was a lot of power in that kind of middle bit where it's connecting all the ages, and I definitely resonate. I identify with the idea of like can't be too fixed in how you look at it. So my question is, to what extent? Because the talking head.
Sorry, bro, I'm gonna.
Yeah, no, sorry. I try. Yeah. I'm gonna get it. But basically, he was saying that that the I guess you could say that the problem of black people in clubs listening to whatever music, from whatever culture, is lowering the vibration of the people, right? And I'd like to ask, to what extent do you think that the preacher man father was vindicated at the beginning when he said, you better stop playing that music to those people because you're gonna bring the devil in? And sorry.
That's the question.
Yeah, that's the question. Sorry.
I mean, this is the reality, that, and it goes back to what I was saying. You have a choice, that's the father's perspective, and a lot of us live in that bubble of guilt because that perspective is coming there. And you have the choice. So it could have gone any other way. Remember, Sammy needed to connect. He needed to be free in the way that he could, to explore himself. We don't know, what is driving him per se, other than ultimately something deep within his soul is saying, you want to do this, you need to do this. So I hear that the father was in a sense vindicated, but that's the whole premise of the choice and the crossroads. You have to make a decision. But that scene that it culminates in Sammy, would we rather him just being in that bland church, which I know they set it up as bland, but the white clothes aren't as bland like that. Or would we have rather got what we got, that music, that beautiful sound that we got? So it's really for us to think about, as well, like what do we get from it, and therefore, are we victim of our passions, or do we own our passions? Do we have the power over our passions? I love the fact that it allows us to explore all these things, because that's what it should do. A really good piece like that should allow us to do it.
Thank you. Tony, your chance to cut loose now, okay? History, social, political, with what you kind of alluded to earlier on, and if people haven't checked it out regarding the Red Summer of 1919, that was a targeted white supremacist response to African American soldiers coming back from World War I. They were trained, they were intelligent, they were actually using their skills to protect black communities, and we saw that kind of in the film regarding Tulsa, Rosewood, Greenwood. So us always fighting for that freedom, that independence, that autonomy. And I know that if you could just speak on that and tie that into also African policy and what you've been going through regarding African Odyssey and the importance of autonomy.
Yes, even as recently as World War II, when black soldiers came back from, American soldiers came back from fighting for America in World War II, some of them got lynched in their uniforms when they got back to Kentucky, Alabama. So that's a huge story there. And again, that's not normally talked about, so it's amazing exactly in this film here. When it comes to economics, again, that's a major part of the importance of African Americans. They weren't even allowed to have their own, or not use their proper currency. As you saw, they had to use these paper tokens. And there was a conflict between Smoke and his partner about her accepting that currency, because that then enabled the exploitation to continue. So there's a big story there. But when it comes to showing films, it's a way of progressing or promoting your culture. And this is one problem that we have, is that there's not that many cinemas that will show positive, conscious, uplifting, progressive, historical black content. So I was going to fight, to get the film made. But once you got the film made now, you then have to find a cinema to put the film on in, as you, it's a long story, right? And what you then find is that you then have to kind of argue, fight, look, if you get a venue to host a film like this, and the Q&A, which is going to draw all the things, because when it comes to what you take from this film, it's different for each person. That's the whole part of the film. An artist is going to make a film, and you're going to take different things from what's in your brain. So it's really useful to have this sort of Q&A, but normally, you have a film like this, they show the film, get up my place, yeah? So what we've been doing for the last 18 years now at the BFI, under the term African Odyssey, is showing films like this from Africa, the diaspora, from Cuba, on France Fanon, on Toussaint Louverture, on Fred Hampton, on Study Carmichael, on Walter Rodney, films that are fantastic, educational, powerful, informational films, and having Q&A at the BFI for the last 18 years now. And all of a sudden, the BFI wants to end that program by getting rid of the person who worked in the BFI, who would then actually do the work to put the films on, and ignoring the advice of the voluntary committee, which I chair, which would tell them what type of film to show. And we tell them what types of films to show, and we have 400 people in the cinema at 2 o'clock on a Saturday, which is normally a dead time in cinemas. So their argument doesn't make sense that they want to end the program after 18 years to cut costs because we're making the money. So that doesn't make any sense, but that's what they're telling us is the reason. Also, they're breaking the law in that in 2010 we had laws called the Race Relations Amendment Act, which literally says that if you have an all-white, majority-white committee, management team, making decisions which affect the majority Caribbean, African, marginalized community, you're supposed to survey them before you make a decision to end any kind of program. So in this situation, African Odyssey has attracted tens of thousands of people to that cinema, which normally they would never go to before, but they didn't ask anybody about the decision to cut the post. So right now we have 16,500 signatures saying to keep the program, and the BFI, management, mostly white, is ignoring the 16,500 people saying why the program continue. So just think from a common sense perspective, forget equality and law, just common sense, right? If you're a business owner and you have 16,000 people saying they want to see something on their TV, on their cinema screen, wouldn't you just say, okay, no problem, or at least have a meeting? Or would you just ignore them totally? So what they're doing is back the moment, ignoring the law, breaching the law, and we're encouraging people to actually sign the petition. It's just called the African Odyssey petition. If you find it online, just type in African Odyssey petition, will come up, and get as many signatures as possible to then show the BFI that people want this kind of film with a Q&A on a monthly, regular, ongoing basis for the next 10, 20 years, because it's something we need to fight for, just like they're for against these vampires.
Okay.
Literally got time for one last question. You got me 5 seconds, 10 seconds to ask. Go ahead, sis. Go ahead. All right, put my eye first. 5 seconds, 10 seconds.
Okay. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
One of the things I picked up, I just wanted to find out...
Speak loud into the mic.
One of the things I picked up, I just wanted your thoughts on this. I noticed that Coogler sort of had a correlation going through the movie on black people fighting for what their worth was, including when he had that girl bargaining with Michael B. Jordan's character about how much she should take for watching his car. Again, with them in the juke joint, how much they should accept in terms of the entrance fees and for drinks and things. I felt from a perspective that he was bringing up that as black people we should know our worth, get what's deserved to us, particularly in Jim Crow era as well, and in relation to artists, music artists, particularly black genre as well, with not getting their rights, not getting the money that's deserved to them as well.
Okay, you know what? Yeah, got it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
So I don't mean to rush this because
No, it's okay.
I know we're supposed to have an hour, but it's been cut short.
I think you're right. I think there is something about that. The whole film is about, there's a lot of negotiation at the beginning. There's a lot of negotiations through. So that you can have a whole conversation about the nature of capitalism as well. What is capitalism doing, and how is capitalism exploiting people's worth and people's value? And do we know our worth? And that's what Tony said at the beginning, is that Ryan Coogler clearly, and even Marlon mentioned it, he knows his worth. And he's like, but the beauty about what he knows is that this is legacy. So legacy, heritage, culture, all of this is my work from Ryan Coogler's perspective. And you need to pay me on the gross. You need to give it back to me after 25 years. You're not going to do the vampiric thing with me. So it's Ryan Coogler making that full-on statement. And the point I wanted to make what Tony was saying about educating people about that power and about that worth is you see that scene with the little girl. The little girl where, you know, we're talking numbers, know your worth. So everybody is layers of an education in terms of our economic sovereignty. So that's what you were thinking.
Well, just one thing I remembered, yeah, because if you grew up in the 70s, 80s in America, the Caribbean, do you remember, right? You went to the club, yeah, and I forget the name of the song, but the chorus was, the roof, the roof, the roof is on fire, we don't need no... So, remember this scene in the bar, when the roof is on fire, I was like, bro, the man's talking to me, because I just remember that. No, sorry.
All right, yeah, thank you. I'd like to say once again a thank you to everyone. We're finished now, darling. I'd like to say thank you to everyone for coming out tonight. Please feel free to come downstairs in the bar, have a drink with us before we go. It's a Saturday night, so don't need to rush off so quickly. Have a one drink. And then also, remember, please also, I really need you people. I know you're leaving, or you're leaving on the stairs, cushcinema.com. Put it in your phone right now. Open your internet on your phone. Type in kushcinema.com. You can put in Kush Films in Google and you'll find me. This is my big hat, don't worry. You'll find me. Sign up to Kush Cinema, please support me. Help us grow this and build a black-owned business that we can be proud of in the UK. Okay? Yes?